It's because of men like you that all must be destroyed. It's because of men like you that all must be destroyed. None of those risen have been seen, at least not by anyone who still remains alive. None of those risen have been seen, at least not by anyone who still remains alive.
style brain treatment was given to you. You are a robot, that's all you are. Better not change your mind. You just better not.
10,
Better not change your mind. You just better
8,
not.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to Tangents. This is Red Leader standing by. All squads call in.
Blue Squad standing by.
Beep boop.
Yeah.
And apparently our two Astro knobs. Of course, the people whose names begin with J have to act like assholes. One ruin my time.
That's the name of the game.
That's right. Anyway, welcome to Tangents, the only show on the internet. Period. That's all we've got. Have a good night, everybody. I am Andrew. I am from beautiful Cleveland, Ohio, here at X Studios. With me, as always, my delicious co-hosts, Das Christoph, looking yummy and blue today. I don't think I've ever seen you in a shirt that's not black. Well, of course, it's Kraftwerk's Autobahn.
Which is a
It really is.
fantastic
How
shirt
are you?
and a great album.
So,
How are you? What's new?
my laptop died and I'm miserable because my entire life revolves around it. Luckily, the hard drives are fine and removable, which is not always the case in modern laptops. So I do not have any data loss. And, the laptops cost money, but data is invaluable.
And it's also helpful that your laptop is not modern, so.
But yeah, that's true. Although there are modern laptops that still have removable drive bays, but many don't, especially more affordable ones. A lot of times they solder the RAM and the storage right in, and there are no upgrades available.
That's because it's a faster bus that way. You don't have anything to clog it up as much. That's why we do backups.
Yeah. Yeah. But on the other hand, they're no longer expandable, so I won't be able to upgrade it to like 4 terabyte later.
True. Upgrade it now while you still can.
Well, I mean, that's just the thing. Those 4 terabyte drives aren't available now. So that's why, that future proofs it by making it expandable. Right now, I think the biggest SSD you can get is 1 terabyte.
Maybe.
So my last laptop actually had 3 spots for SSD drives.
Wow.
I could expand it to 3 terabyte. And that is uncommon.
Yes, indeed.
Yep.
Even on higher end laptops.
But I get a lot of requests. And, even with a terabyte and a half of music, I still can't meet everybody's requests.
You just need more Britney Spears.
That's true.
Yeah, that would do it.
That'll make sure no one ever requests anything from you ever again, period.
Yeah, because then I won't get hired anymore.
Exactly. See, we're helping
Hey,
you
Jeff.
here.
Can't you just leave Britney alone?
Yeah.
It would be very funny to every time somebody made just a garbage request, be like, well, so-and-so requested this song, here it is. And like anytime somebody, whatever the bad song was, just claimed that they requested something even worse and played it for them.
Honestly, the worst request that I get almost every week, if not every 2 weeks, is Aqua's Barbie Girl. And I can't do anything worse than that.
Yeah, that is pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing fun about that. Hello, SynthLab. Thank you for joining us. And thank you, Botanical Gardens, for following. We appreciate it. Oh, and yeah, thanks for rating, Jeff. Thanks, Christoph, for rating.
Don, we got to bring in those followers ourselves at a time.
That's right. Speaking of Jeff, how are you?
Adequate.
Excellent.
How are
What's new in your world of adequacy?
Operating within normal parameters.
I sold an inexpensive thing on eBay. and I bought some drum samples. It's been a pretty quiet week, but it's been good. I finished up the mix and master of a new Ghosttron track.
Woohoo.
Happy with that.
Coming soon from Mix Studios.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know. It's been pretty chill. It's been 1,008 degrees here. I don't know. That's been exciting. Every time I go to my mailbox, I'm afraid that my shoes might melt the driveway.
Ooh, and you just got a notification too.
I did. I just realized that I forgot to turn on Do Not Disturb mode before we started. So now I've done that.
Yes.
Oops.
Well, congratulations on mixing and mastering the new Ghosttron single. We're looking forward to hearing that.
Thanks.
Even though I've heard it already, and it's pretty stellar.
I'm happy with it. I spent some time. This is your fault. Thank you for spending time with Midjourney, which is a really cool AI tool.
Mm-hmm.
Another person who's using it to really great effect is Rob Sheridan, who used to be the art director for Nine Inch Nails.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to see probably like the very, very high end of Midjourney capabilities, he's getting output from it, and then he's doing his own work. I think his own post work with it. It's got like too heavy of a Rob Sheridan feel
Okay.
to be just the direct output of Midjourney, but he's doing some really cool stuff. with
Nice.
it.
Yeah, Midjourney's pretty intense.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's really good at generating nightmare fuel, which I found is pretty cool.
Yep.
Speaking of nightmare fuel, Justin, how are you?
I'm hanging in there.
Congratulations on being conscious.
It's an achievement.
It is. How was your week? What did you do this weekend?
Well, I visited you in Cleveland, which was a good time.
Indeed.
Good time was had by all.
We got to kill people with trolley cars and eat sushi.
Yeah. Well, we had to plead definitively for people rally cars, and
Yes,
and
that worked some of the time.
the cards were just stacked against some folks,
That's
unfortunately.
true, and worked in other folks' favor, like mine. But it was great seeing you. It was fantastic.
No, thanks. It was good to see you too. It was good to hang out.
Oh yeah,
Good.
do it again soon. At
So
NobCon.
how are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty well. I had some asshole over this weekend.
Yeah, well, did that rash go away?
Mm.
And stuff.
It might have spread to Justin. Hey,
Sweet.
Congratulations. I had a good couple weeks as well. I'm put everything away after you left and cried the entire time. And I did laundry today. So that was exciting. And yeah, that's I didn't do too much outside of all that. Hung out with you. I need to tune my room still. I think I'll maybe do that tomorrow. We'll see. So yeah, kind of uneventful here. I did get the artwork, the preliminary artwork back for the Hermit album, and I'm really excited about how that's going to be looking. So that's cool. Because I don't do my own artwork anymore because that's a pain in the ass.
True.
So I just pay people to do it instead. Well, we're glad everyone's here. Robin could not make it this evening. She is not feeling well. And it's Christoph's fault, she said. She said that just looking at him makes her sick. Christoph might be talking right now, but we can't hear him.
My mom made it clear to me that everything in the world is my fault, including climate change, continental drift, all suffering, child hunger, pets dying early, everything. That's all me. Sorry.
Well, Christoph, I appreciate your contributions to the world.
Our long shared nightmare will be over, but for now, I live.
And I appreciate your contributions to the world. Contrary to what anybody else might say.
Without suffering, you don't really appreciate the joy as
Exactly. Or the lighter suffering that you don't give us, because you only give us the heavy suffering. Yay, suffering.
Great.
Well, awesome. I guess we should jump on in here then. Hello, Dream Cadaver. Thank
Yep.
you. I
Stories.
was dreaming about death today, and the Dream Cadaver came for me. All right, we've got some goofy news today. It was actually, we thought it was going to be a lighter news week, but actually we were able to fill things out a little bit. A lot of stuff from Spitfire Audio Labs coming our way, as well as some news from UVI, a couple new plugins we're going to talk about as well. Woot. So let's dive right in here. Who's going to be managing posting the news stories tonight?
I can do
All
it.
right. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that. So we're going to be starting off with the excitement of this thing that came across on Reverb the other day. And that is a Yamaha DX1 synthesizer. Still for sale.
Wonder why.
I don't know. Might be because it's $159,000. I'm sorry, $159,041.23 plus shipping.
Plus shipping.
Plus shipping. Now, granted, this is shipping from
then I'm not
the
getting it.
Netherlands, so
Yeah.
The plus shipping really is the kicker that makes it very funny to
Yeah.
me. I mean, I think the precision on the pricing is down to like euro conversion to dollars.
Yeah.
Happen automatically or something, but the shipping is very funny.
Oh, yeah.
This synthesizer, not this exact unit, but the DX1. There's I guess they're mostly a repair shop called Centaur, and they did a YouTube show a little while ago in which they delivered a DX1 to Chuck Surrock,
Oh, yes.
the founder of
Sweetwater.
Sweetwater. That
Mhm.
was pretty interesting little YouTube episode. I didn't know how few of them there were. That's actually why this caught my eye when I posted it. But there's not many of these DX1s at all.
Mhm.
Like a couple hundred.
it belongs
Yeah.
in a museum. 140 DX1s between 1983 and 1985, apparently.
Yeah. And if you've never heard one, which you probably haven't, it doesn't actually sound anything like a DX7. I mean, it is an FM synthesizer and it's using the same stuff. It sounds amazing. And when I say like you probably don't think people have heard them on albums really, like they didn't really get used very much.
Well, and according to the listing here, it says here that the DX1 was used on various hit records in the 80s.
Various.
Think
All the
Brothers in
things-
Arms by Dire Straits, Human Nature by Michael Jackson, Pet Shop Boys, Kraftwerk, Toto, etc.
Oh, it's
Etc.
Etc. Yes, indeed.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's possible that it's maybe used on a couple. The Centaur episode was pretty interesting. I would recommend you watch that if you're into this thing. It's
It says like it looks like it's got a lot of multi-timbrality built into it. I had to look this thing up into Synth Explorer because didn't know much about it.
Yeah.
Up to 32 voices of polyphony in 1985 or something. That's crazy.
it was very, very expensive when it was new as well.
Mhm.
And the thing that really struck me about it is, I mean, the DX7 itself sounds, compared to a lot of FM synths, it sounds pretty warm. But this thing is like cozy like a blanket.
Well, this one's
That is
actually
quite a- What's that?
this one is actually unused. This is sitting in a museum
Yeah.
right now, and
gonna
apparently it's the proceeds go to an NGO. If you're in Europe, then shipping is included. But yeah,
It's got
It's,
two handsome livery there. It's got looks like it's got completely encased in wood, like side panels.
I know, right? What was that, Christoph?
It's 32 voices, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, FM can sound amazing if it has the right programmer. I mean, there's certain sounds that it can't do, but the sounds that it can do with the right person have really shocked me. I've mentioned this before. There's a DX7 programmer. His name of his channel is Power DX, and you know, he did like a Blade Runner cover, and I thought he'd used analogs, and he didn't. It was all his DX7. And he would highlight the differences for where all the emulators fall short of the actual DX7, and that there are advantages to the 12-bit sine wave over the later version using a 16-bit sine wave. When you're detuning the oscillators, the shimmer effects that you get are much stronger with the 12-bit than the 16. And sometimes those little imperfections, if you have can really make a difference. For the DX7, that he's had a lifetime to master this one synth has made quite a difference. So the sounds he gets out of it are amazing. But still, I think every one of us, if we had to choose, would take an analog synth. Just because they're easier and more fun.
Well, I mean, I would take I don't think I'd take an FM synth. How about that?
Yeah. All right. Anything but the FM, or the FM's generally going to come up last. But it's great to have in your arsenal. My second band, our main synth was an FM, and we didn't sound like any of our peers, and that was the reason.
I thought there's a lot of since the FM synth resurgence, we see a lot more FMs out there nowadays, and so I think we hear it a lot more as well.
Yep. You also see a lot of it where now one of the ways that it pops up a lot is that people are making wavetables for stuff like Serum, using FM as the basis for that. So you wind up hearing stuff that's sort of based in FM that's fundamentally either like subtractive or wavetable.
Yeah, that's most of what I hear in wavetable is frequency modulated. And I was wondering, why don't they just use an FM? But it's because wavetable's easy if somebody else made these wavetables. And FM is insanely hard.
Yep.
I mean, the Iridium is cool because it's got linear FM built into it. So you can use wavetables as oscillators in your FM, which is pretty wacky.
That's neat.
So yeah, if you have that much money laying around, and you have a craving for a ultra rare Yamaha DX1 synthesizer, and you happen to have $160,000 plus laying around, go buy a house or something instead.
This thing must weigh a ton too. I'm looking at this thing in Synth Explorer. It looks huge.
Yeah.
It is gigantic.
Yeah. So I know now it says in the listing that he's open to offers, and I believe Andrew already offered him $350.
Yeah, I offered $350. So now I see that there is a there is currently a listing for another DX1 as well in here on Reverb right now. That's going for just $135,000.
But if either of these sell, would that make this now the most expensive synth ever?
Maybe.
Oh, I think this in Clavier probably beats it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. The fully maxed out Synclavier system went for $500,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's weird about this one is that it says it says 32 notes of polyphony, right? But it's got basically, it looks like two channels, like an AB channel. And so it can do layer split, and if you just have one patch, it'll be 32 rather than 16. But I put bang to rights that if you open this thing up, you'd find literally two of the same board.
Probably.
Stacked in this thing. That seemed to be like the thing back in the days of the Prophet 10, right? Like, put it on one kiss, good luck carrying it around.
Yeah. Definitely a studio piece.
The DX1, I wish I could post pictures in the chat, in the Discord chat. Not Discord, whatever this platform is that we're using.
Twitch is what they call it. The kids are nowadays.
I thought it was TikTok. Whatever it is, I wish I could put pictures in it because I pulled up this video that's got Chuck Zurach in it, and he looks like a tiny baby beside the X1.
I thought you meant in general.
Baby. It's very good. I'll drop the link for that one. Don't anybody click on it. Just save it for later. Don't leave our show. We need you.
Or just right click and open it in a new
God,
tab.
we need you. Please don't leave us. Especially Commander Root. Please stay with us.
If you go to like 32 and a half minutes into that video, that's where you can see Chuck Zurach looking like a tiny baby.
I'm totally zipping over there right now just to see the tiny
It-
baby.
Yeah, I got
So big.
Oh my god, that thing is a fucking that is a monster. I have seen the synth. I have seen the Pet Shop Boys playing this thing.
It's so stupid big. It's like it's half the size of a grand piano,
It's half the size of Chuck Chirac.
at least.
Dear God.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, it's mainly been used to crawl inside and then ship.
If you open it up, it's really just a little guy who plays the synthesizer for you. He has like an iPad and he just plays soft synths whenever you touch it.
Yeah, and
What?
there's a bed in there too. That's why it's so big.
Yep.
You can just like, take a nap.
Do you folks remember that guy Inside Synthesis?
Yeah.
He was kind of a big deal like 10 years ago or more. He did one of my favorite demos of the Prophet 08 and reviews. And there's a scene towards the end, the second part, it's a two-parter, where he takes the Prophet 08 and is like opens up his OBXA, like the case, and says, "I can fit 2 of these in here." Like, it's kind of just madness.
And
Right?
an entire box of kittens.
Right? I thought
Yeah.
you said kidneys at first. I'm like, and an entire box of kidneys.
Oh, I thought you said kittens, Christoph. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I did say kittens, but an entire box of kidneys as well. Whatever floats your boat. Whatever you happen to have.
How many
box
kidneys
at.
are usually in a box of kidneys? Like, what's the
just think
ratio
of-
here?
It's usually about 6 to 12.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out a new way of measuring so I never have to use the metric system because I'm from America and that's what we do. We try to find
That's why we define everything by football field.
or anything that's not like an actual unit of measurement. I was measuring the
because nobody understands the imperial system.
exactly. I was measuring the table that the Golden Shrimp Guild is getting at NobCon in how many deluges you can fit on it. So
Yeah.
I love it.
How many decibels that give the frequency?
yeah, exactly. How many parsecs?
I was trying to sneaky in the next news.
I see what you did there.
Did a bad job.
Yeah. So and I'm sorry. And speaking of decibels,
Decibels are logarithmic.
Indeed.
there's a new thing from Zipper Noise, which is the greatest name ever, called Frequia, whatever. And it's an ear training tool, which the company claims is the most most powerful of its kind. So it's an standalone Mac application. Sorry, Christoph. But then again, you don't have a computer right now anyway, so it doesn't matter if it was Windows either way.
Nah, it does.
So it's providing training personalized to users in advanced yet easy to use package, according to their copy pasta. So this looks interesting, and it's a $60 thing if you want to train your ear to hear dog whistles or something like that. I think it's more like it looks like, according in the graphic, it looks like it's kind of training your ear to listen for subtle changes in EQ settings.
Yep. Yeah, it's really for people who want to be able to build up their skills as an audio engineer, essentially. I was looking at it, and I think it could be really useful for people who want to do live sound for like ringing out a club. Which is like a tough skill to learn, to be able to identify what the ringing frequencies in a space to hone those out and do it relatively quickly.
Especially since like most sound engineers that I've encountered just have permanent ringing in their ears anyway, and they'll never be able to tune that shit out.
Yeah, that's been my experience too. When you go into a club and you're like, "Hey, this sounds," it sounds like it's being played in the side of a tin can.
Yep.
At 1,000 decibels.
Yes.
It only has 2 of the frequencies turned on. Could I suggest some changes? And what they goes, "Hi, I couldn't hear you."
We had a sound guy here for a while who I actually pulled him aside and said, "Dude, seriously, you might want to get your ears checked out because I don't think you can hear anything above a certain frequency, and that's why that's always cranked up so fucking loud. It sounds like you're cooking bacon through a 60-watt amplifier." And he's like, "I was wondering about that," and I'm like, "Oh my god,
That's
you remember that guy?"
I do. We won't shame him by name, but
No.
the last show that I played, which was right before COVID. I for sure definitely did everything through my own mixer and gave the engineer a stereo out, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I've heard bands play here before." And I'm not going to have that.
Yeah, it's basically like we submixed when we were doing Spooky Action Everywhere, just because it's like, no, we're not letting you. And I was submixing in Missile Command all the time as well, because it's just like, no, I'll let you control the microphones. That's about all you get.
Yeah, you get that, and you get room EQ.
Yeah, exactly. But I'll take care of everything else. We're good.
Oh, gross. Yeah. And then you have the really good ones, and that's the thing. Like, it always bums me out when you have the really good one. Like, I heard Actors, the band, play at a venue here in DC, and they played with another band that was just god awful. But man, the engineer there for Actors did like a super good job. It was really rare, but it was really good.
And sometimes these bands will have a touring sound guy that will just go with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite often the problem that electronic musicians face is that the venue will just boost the things for the music he likes. So if you have a guitarist, all that people are going to hear is going to be the vocalist and the guitarist.
Yep.
They're not going to hear any electronic drums. They're not going to hear any keyboards because that's not what he's into. It just wrecks the band, and that's why so many electronic bands do exactly what you're talking about. We just hand them two outputs because otherwise, no sense, no drums.
Yeah, especially the old schoolers, Christoph. I remember back in the day, the guys that came up in the 60s and 70s, right? It's like, if you don't sound like Led Zeppelin, I'm going to work my best to make sure you sound like them by the end of the night. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had played at a venue once, and the house sound guy was just like, "Well, when I have real bands here, this is what I do." And then we at that point we were bringing our own sound guy, and then he showed up and he's like, "Who's this guy?" I'm like, "That's our real sound guy."
This man has his ear.
You say we're not real, we're all ghost pirates. Like, come on.
Yeah, right. We're all poltergeists.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, this Zipper Noise Frequia, whatever it is, technical ear trainer. If you want to get better at using EQs than I am, where I just turn them up all the way and sweep it back and forth until I hear where it sounds the worst and then turn that down. Andrew's Mixing Secrets. I'm going to write a book. This might be some
Subtractive EQ by Andrew.
Making it sound better or worse. Anyway, this is a kind of a cool little thing for $59. Can't go wrong with that. But again, it's Mac only. So if you have a Windows machine, you try to buy it, don't come back and yell at us. Get a Mac. And speaking of obscure tools that are only interesting to one person on this show tonight.
This is not true. Don't hate just because you didn't act fast enough.
So our good friends at Squarp, who are continuing to ignore any kind of firmware updates on the Pyramid, have released a firmware for not just the Hapex, but that other thing that they have as well.
The Rample.
The Rample. That's it. So
They did the Rample. I think they did the Hermod, right? Didn't they do that one?
Yeah, they did the Hermod. They did all of them but the Pyramid. I think they're just giving up on the Pyramid now that they put out the Hapex.
I mean, to be fair, I don't know what the Pyramid OS is, but it's 4.02. I just looked. Yeah, it's pretty mature.
Yeah,
At this point.
That's okay. I might be giving up on the pyramid as well. So, anyway, the Apex has a new firmware with a bunch of new features. Our resident Apex expert, Jeff, will kind of give us a little bit of information as well as post that link, buddy.
They did a fast follow on the update as well. Now, so they released 1.10. Oops, 1.10 made it so that you couldn't make a new project. That was defective. That's comes out. You need to be able to make new projects. So they fixed that. Now there's 1.11. Yeah, that's needed. They did a ton of fixes though here. Scorp does a super good job, I think. I mean, I like them for their products, but I like them for their company too. Like they did a whole host of bug fixes. They did a bunch of new features. So they added instrument definitions, which is really cool. Which basically lets you like bake in all the CC features,
like they did on the pyramid.
Yep.
Which is, I think, is one of the best features about the pyramid is that they have that.
Yeah, and now they have it on the Apex. They added new effects to it. They added a chord match transposer that locks you into a key. They added new 25 new arpeggiators. They added a whole bunch of different ways of sending data out of it. They added a new pattern mode sync system. They added more capability to CV outs. They added they have these things called math conditions. It's basically not probability, but like if you've got a 1-bar loop, you can say play this note on the 4th run of the bar, and they call those maths. They now change some of the way that some other things work with start and stop. You can change the voltage outputs on the CV now. You can change the polarity on the gates. You can change the way that restarting it syncs to things. You can hot swap the SD card. You can change different things in the drum lanes. I don't know. They added like a ton of effects and features to it and fixed, I don't know, probably 30 or so bugs.
Wow. So this is like we'll call this the cowboy update.
Yeah. Might have been.
Because I know he's been in contact with them a lot with everything he's finding.
Yeah, every time they release a new update, I submit a bug report that you can't stop track from playing. I want them to toggle on and off like they do on the pyramid. They don't want them to toggle on and off like the pyramid. That's because they're wrong. That's a mistake, and you don't want that to happen. And so the mute doesn't do what you need it to do there. So, because you can't bake mute into the song. So that's the problem. If you want to have I don't know, a lead that plays in the chorus but not the verse, you need to leave a scene blank to turn it off automatically because you can't automate mute.
Interesting.
You either need to be able to automate mute or turn the thing off. But they were like, no, that's the way it's supposed to work. Well, I mean, yes, but no. Yes, but no, not the way it's supposed to work. Just keep submitting that one as a bug report, and eventually they'll give in.
Do you want me to submit it as well, even though I don't own one?
Yeah, you should.
We'll all just start submitting like that as a bug. Like, I don't have one, but it needs to do this, otherwise I'm not going to buy it.
Yeah, I mean that's actually how some of the conversation's going. I don't know. It's a cool thing. I recommend it. They have them on back order. They're available in September, which is a lot sooner than Circlon, which I've been on the waiting list now for 2.5 years and will eventually get.
Yeah, sure you will.
Allegedly.
Stop lying. Or keep lying to yourself. One of the two.
One of these days it's going to pop up.
Yeah, when you least expect it, like on your deathbed.
85 years old. They're going to message me.
And then
Well,
it shipped, and you're like, oh.
Good Lord.
And that's the end of that. Well, there you go. If you are a Apex owner, update to 1.11, especially if you accidentally updated to 1.10.
I did. Discovered that new song feature.
And then report a bug about the muting. automations because it should do it. And speaking of really badly placed ideas like this transition, our pals over at UVI have released not one, but 2 new plugins this past couple weeks. There they are in all their glory. First of all, they have released an Andromeda A6 inspired plugin. Now, this is not doing this isn't doing like a virtual analog thing or anything like that. They're basically, they pulled samples off of the Andromeda A6 and are using those like kind of presets. So it's not really a authentic emulation of the Andromeda. But
Yeah, that's how all their stuff is.
right. But they did nail down the weird ass interface of the Andromeda A6. And it sounds
You were about to
I
start
was a owner of one. The pride was more along the lines of, look, I have this synth that a lot of people don't have, and it's worth a lot of money. But I found it to have a very clunky interface, and I just could not work with it no matter how hard I tried. Because despite the fact that 80% of the synthesizer is in fact knobs, there's still a shitload of menu diving you have to do anything interesting with it.
Wow.
Like, it was to the point where it was like, this is you need a programmer or something like that. You know, it was just not good. And
I
plus,
heard it had a lot of like hardware instabilities too.
Yes.
I don't know if that was the case with your.
they had a lot of just instabilities, hardware and software instabilities, and of course they never did an update for the thing or anything like that because Alesis got, you know, this is the synth that kind of ruined Alesis. They put so much money into this thing as far as R&D is concerned, and it came out at a time when people were just getting virtual analogs. They weren't interested in getting an analog polysynth, so no one bought it, and so they kind of nuked them and then they got bought out by I can't remember who, and they just gave up.
Yeah, and at the time, the Andromeda was, I think, the highest polyphony analog polysynth, with the exception of the Korg, what is it, PSR 32 and 3300 or 33, 3400,
Correct.
which are weird beasts on their own. But so it on paper, it was an amazing feat, but they didn't quite pull it off, and it came in over budget and late, and it killed the company.
Yeah.
This was Don Buchela's last synth, right?
Was it?
I think so.
Yeah, I don't know.
I did not know that.
I
might be-
do recall playing with it in music stores. I mean, I think it sounded pretty okay.
Let's just say it sounded okay. And it was an expensive synth at the time.
It still is.
So, I mean, I think new it was over $3,000. Whereas now, but the difference is back then you could get an Access Virus for less than $2,000.
Right.
Now, Access Virus is more than $3,000 again. So if you consider the inflation on that stuff, then yeah, it's a reasonably priced synth. But at the time, for only 16-part polyphony, it was a lot. But and on paper it looked good. Like, although so you could choose your oscillator, but you could use multiple waveforms in your oscillator, and each one's a discrete circuit. So that's nice. I mean, the modulation on that, each oscillator is going to be set regardless of which waveform you use, but it does that blending. And just think, for every one of those, there's a circuit.
Right.
And the thing, and it's amazing that the thing's main problem wasn't overheating.
Yeah.
So there's a ton of engineering that went into this thing to make that possible, but it just wasn't mind-blowing.
I think it had
And the software is a problem for Buchla as well.
I think the oscillators to me were like fuzzy. I don't know how to explain it. Fuzzily, kind of bright. I don't know. I mean, they had a sound, and I actually picked this up because it was cheap, and it pretty much sounds like that. So if you like it, if you like that sound, then you go for it.
There was a certain like after Alesis disappeared, there was a certain misguided nostalgia for this synthesizer. So when people when I had it, and people would come over, they would see it and they would marvel at it. I mean, it was weird. It was like they just thought it was like the most amazing looking thing in the world, and they looked at it and they lusted after it. And I said, why don't you play it? And they never would. They would be like, oh, it looks so cool. I'm like, just play it. You'll be disappointed like I am. And they wouldn't play it. They just wanted to lust after it. They just thought it looked really, really cool. Like, I wouldn't know where to begin. I'm like, fucking twist some knobs. I don't give a shit, you know?
Well, plus, no making and polyship synths like this at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's almost like 8 years in the future before the Prophet 08, and and 12 for it. It's kind of a oasis, really.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So yeah, ahead of its time, important in synth history, but otherwise kind of underwhelming.
Yeah. It was kind of like a flawed hero, for want of a better term. But I think that a lot of companies got inspired by the Andromeda A6, and then we started seeing things like the Prophet 08 or even like the DeepMind 12. That kind of stuff was like a big deal as well for that kind of thing. So yeah, this guy here, like I said, it's got this kind of samples versions of it. You can get the thing for $79. Introductory price right now until August 8th of $50. So $49. Which is great, and you got yourself a much coveted, if not great sounding synthesizer.
It's a shame because you could get the Alesis SR16 drum machine, which is that's like the thing that's carried Alesis's name forward into the. They'll be making it in 2238.
Yeah.
It's never
I
going.
think
They
it's like
just
the
discontinued it. Are they still making them?
Yeah, you can still.
It's got to be the
Not
longest
what to do.
running, right? I mean, of them.
Yeah, how long is that?
Trying to
been
think of a
around?
company that's made the same product for longer.
Literally, it's like Volkswagen Beetles. That's the only thing that comes close, I think.
So the SR16 has been continually manufactured and available for purchase since 1990.
Yeah, and it's been perfect ever since then. It's a great drum machine.
Yeah,
I own
it.
one.
The HR16 is a classic one too. I think that's.
So yeah, I mean, my first drum machine was the Roland R8, and my band, the other guy had this SR16, which was much cheaper, and so I kind of was snubbing him until I found out it was so much better for industrial music than the Roland R8 was, and it just made me mad. And so its success is well deserved. I mean, it's very canned sounding, so you have to put some effects on it. But if you're not looking for realistic drums. It's fantastic, and with effects, you can still get by. So,
Do you still have yours?
yeah, I do.
Nice.
I
don't
never.
mind it
It's
more.
very rare that I sell anything.
Yeah. I should probably buy another one. I had one and then I sold it because I made money on it. Some fool was willing to pay more than I bought it for. I was like, okay. But I should probably buy it again.
My first drum machine was a Dr. Rhythm, and I can't even remember which one it was. I think it was like the 50 or something like that. It was terrible.
The 550.
No, not the 550.
Oh, wow. Because I have the 550 and the 660, and I love both of those.
550 is the shit. It sounds so good.
And it's so artificial sounding, which is exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I like the 550 more than the R8 too.
Yeah, the 550 is like one of my go-tos for samples. And the Sisters of Mercy used it a lot too. And
The 550 is what I always like. It's if I'm using a default kit to write something down before I change it later, it's always the 50.
Yeah, I can't remember which one it was, but it was not the good one. It was really bad.
All right.
It looked more like a pocket calculator, but it was like $90, and that's why I got it.
Okay.
You know. And then I ran it through like a distortion pedal. Look at me, I'm industrial, and that was that.
it's all
You and your Power Noise band, huh?
Yep. That was like in 1990.
Maybe it was the DR5. That one looks like a calculator.
Is that got those like the knob you turn?
No, this didn't have a
It
knobs.
doesn't have a knob on the right.
Which one?
Well, there's a selector knob. I think the 550 has that too, and the 660.
No, this one
Can't
didn't.
remember.
This one didn't have anything to select. It just had like one sound.
Did you have a metronome? You didn't know it?
Well, like it had like a kick and like a snare, and like a close hat and a hi hat and some toms, and that was it. And it was, but you couldn't change the sounds on them at all. And it was like a 16-step sequencer, and that was the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm looking. It wasn't Dr. Beat, was it? Like maybe 90.
Or the
I'm looking.
DR55.
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with the Dr. Beat.
It wasn't Dr. Beat.
I used to use it for drum accompaniment.
Yeah, the DR55 looks like it has like a big knob on it. This one did not even have that.
Jeez.
No, it's a mystery.
If anybody's getting sent to Reverb purchase any of these Dr. Rhythms of yesteryear, and you buy a DR550, you should know that there are two models of the DR550, the Mark 1 and the Mark 2, and the Mark 2 does not sound as good.
There you go.
Yeah, it's the different sound set.
Yeah, the Mark 1 sounds better, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. It is the.
Especially if you
It
want-
was the. Sorry, it was the DR220. That's what I had.
Oh, good lord! Look at that.
Yeah.
Thing. Ooh, that is like a pocket calculator.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. That looks like it's just filled with
It
sadness.
really was.
You are the operator.
Yeah, it was. But you can put AA batteries in it and rock it that way.
Mm.
And yet, it looks like the same display that the Roland R8
Yeah,
has.
probably.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you're right. I for me as well, Christoph.
It's hard for like the R8.
Yeah, it was my first drum machine. I found that I was able to get believable out of it because of the flam. Like I could make it sound like a real drum more than anything.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Sure.
The
But
thing is,
I,
you can make the R8 sound like a real drummer, but that's the exact opposite of what I wanted.
Sure. I think I remember running through really sick or a while to get it to have interest.
Oh yeah. Well, apparently you can still buy this thing for $90. Which is no. I mean, no. You can they don't make them anymore. Like
That's
I'm looking at, I just pulled them up on eBay, and I'm seeing like some people are like trying to sell them for like $175.
They're just hoping bad gear will buy it.
Yeah, right.
I swear, as soon as it's like some kind of cognitive dissonance, as soon as he does something like, I don't know, I feel like he's actually boosting the sales of stuff that
Probably.
people hate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of because he makes something good with whatever it is, and then it seems like, oh yeah, that's not bad. But it's just because he's talented, so he can make something out of anything. By mixing it with some good other things and some
Yeah,
effects.
exactly. It's
I've got his song in my head now. Thanks, Christoph. Appreciate that. Yeah. Jody
okay.
likes to make fun of him because of his voice intonation. Because he talks like this.
hello and welcome to Bad Gear, the show about the world's most hated audio product. Yeah, blah 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 blah. I sound like I work on the Disney Jungle Cruise. Yeah.
I assume English is a second language for him.
Yeah, well, he's German.
He's Austrian. yeah.
Austrian, yeah.
Austrian.
Ah, there you go. Of course he's Austrian. He looks like he likes Falco.
I mean, well,
I like how
we like
Schwarzenegger's on. You go right to Falco. That's why I love you, man.
If you ever get a chance to, Google image search Falco's grave. It's amazing looking.
It is amazing. He's a
He
national
is
hero.
an Austrian national hero.
Yeah.
Whiskey soaked and coked up.
I love Falco.
Me too. It's a big cha-cha here for that.
I don't think I'd want to hang out with him, but he was very
I
talented.
agree.
For sure.
So the other piece of amazing news from UVI is they released the dual delay thing here. Is that the dual delay X, I think? Yes, which is a spatial delay with rotation and full feedback path customization. This thing sounds kind of cool. It's this really nice, very beautiful sounding delay that just you can program out how and where those taps are going to go in the stereo field. It's going for $29 right now till the end of the month. And yeah, it gives you 3 activations, so you can put it across many computers. Ooh la la. But yeah, it's a very atmospheric sounding, very lush sounding delay. You can make actually some nice reverb effects through it as well. I was listening to the demo on this thing earlier, and I think it sounds really cool.
Yeah. Of course, I picked it up when I picked up the Andromeda, but I don't have the replayer, but I do use the Spark reverb a lot. I really think Spark is really good. So what I like about this is like sometimes I delays, the complex stereo delays overwhelm me sometimes, like because it's just so much going on, so much math, right? But it's not that it's bad. It's just to get the sound you want. I like that they have I think they have a good visualization. So they've got like a stereo field visualization and a phase visualization. It helped me sort of wrap my head around stuff like complex stereo, like, like asymmetric feedback paths. It's pretty, it's good. It sounds really good.
I love a good programmable delay. It's like a big thing for me. I am like one of the few pieces of Eurorack hardware I've kept around was the Rainmaker, and that's because you can program each delay tap to do all kinds of weird shit. So I love that kind of thing. It's so much fun. I love the delay designer and Logic and stuff like that, and having those tools and being able to use a delay as an instrument kind of thing in a way is just so much fun for me.
For sure.
Understandably so. A multi-tap delay is such an important tool, and it's such an easy way to flesh out anything that you're doing. I just thought, and it's like one of those big tricks from the late 80s that just never went away with the dotted 16ths.
Yeah.
And having a different delay on your left channel than your right is one of Ken Marshall's big tricks. And William Orbit just released an interview where he talked about like the secret of his production was like an analog synth going through a digital delay, the old Korg digital delay, the first one that had like the sample avail where you could trick it into being a sampler where you can save the sample. And what he loved about it was that you could program them everything by milliseconds, and that's what he would do, and it's all over everything William Orbit's done. Like that's the trick to the William Orbit sound is like that multi-tap delay.
I forget which one that sampler was. I know that Marley Marl, who was like a New York hip-hop producer back in the 80s, used that to like do entire drum loops like inside the delay sample. Wow. It's pretty wild. Yeah.
Severed Heads did it, Frontline Assembly did it, Skinny Puppy did it, because they couldn't before the affordable samplers came out, they found this trick and they were all using that. But of course, once they were done recording, that sample's gone. So they were probably bouncing it to tape and then bouncing it back if they needed it, and with generational loss each time.
Make it sound extra juicy.
Yeah, and then once the Akai 612 and Mirage came out, that's the way they went. But yeah, not everybody had the 60 grand for a Fairlight in the 80s.
Right? But man, that S612 was great.
No,
I know, terrible. I had one.
But it was
yeah, it was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had one.
With its full half second of sample
Yeah, and
time.
I love that the quick disc that it came and they had like the quick disc drive that was really loud, and it would take 30 seconds to load that 2-second sample.
Yeah, it could do 2 seconds. I thought it was limited to a half.
No, I think it was like 2 seconds.
All right, well that's much.
But it was still would take 30. It would still take 30 seconds to load that one sample into that thing.
Yeah,
it was terrible.
Yeah,
Just a little man there describing the sample in great detail.
Yeah, that probably would have been better. And that man was Falco. Anyway, yeah, so that's the Dual Delay X from UVI, as well as that Andromeda A6 inspired plugin. Available today at your fine UVI retailer, which is just their website, really.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of plugins that are on sale, Native Instruments has their plugins for sale for another couple days. Up to 50% off Complete 13. But they are promising Complete 14. So if you want to get in on something so you can buy it again later, now's your chance.
Well, they're not promising it, but if they stick to their usual release schedule, Complete 14 will be coming out probably this fall or winter. But with COVID, who knows? And also the company's been bought twice since they released Complete 13. So who knows what's going to happen with this schedule. So every year around Black Friday, they usually make it like the updates to the software 50% off. And that isn't this sale. But that's only for updates, but not for a new product. So here, if you don't own Complete, you can buy into it now, and then you can update later at a pretty reasonable cost. So it's whereas later, if you want to get in and you don't have Complete, you're probably going to end up paying full price. And who knows whether, Complete 14 is coming this year or not, so we'll see. But if you don't have Complete and you do like using software, it's definitely worth looking at. It's definitely the Complete Suite is one of those desert island scents where it'll take care of every single thing you can think of that you would need.
They some disappointing news about Tractor, or it leaked. I'm not sure which it was, but Tractor's apparently going to a subscription model. And there have been rumors that they're going to be taking down the installer for the non-subscription model. So I would say for anybody who wants to make sure that you're DJing with Tractor, with rumors of a new version of Complete coming out, I'd be super sure you've got your Tractor install downloaded. And hopefully have it off.
There's two versions of Tractor. So is that the iPad version or is that the PC
version?
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
So
that's been going around for a while now. It came out about a month ago.
Okay. Well, it also could be that they're going to have both available. What do you think? You think it's going to be really removed?
I think they're going to get rid of it. Yeah.
All right.
They've been trying to push people to essentially a subscription model by simply just deactivating installs and forcing upgrades. I mean, that's been a thing they've been doing for a while. And that's not. I mean, they're pretty open about that. It's not even a rumor. Like, it's happened to me, and they were like, "Yep, we do that." So, I would be very, very unsurprised to see them force people into a subscription model with software they've already bought.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, that is the one thing that could really kill me on using Complete. I'm not paying yearly because I don't use it often enough.
Yeah.
So I've already own it, and if they take that away, I'm probably done.
Yeah, and with Complete, there's some good stuff. I mean, Reactor's cool. I don't use it.
Yeah, FMA.
Yeah, FMA's pretty good. Reactor's good. I don't really use it though. Battery's pretty good, but there's other options that are good.
I'll tell you what, I've mentioned this before. Battery does stuff that I haven't really seen in other samplers. For example, I can tell it, get to this point, loop 8 times, and then move on. Nothing else I know does
that is pretty cool.
So that is why I would hate to see battery go away, because I think it's great for sound design.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the good news is that when companies do jerk things like this, the piracy market gets really inventive.
Yeah. You can bullshit that kind of thing a little bit on the Octatrack using like parameter locking and stuff like that. It's probably not the same though.
I don't know if Geist does that. I'm not sure.
I just reinstalled Tractor, and I don't know if I got a download because like the native access kind of did all the work for me.
That's
Yeah.
what they're.
Sneaky.
That's what they try to do.
Yep.
That's how they get you.
To say that, damn it.
That is how they get you. Yeah, Geist. I don't know if y'all have ever used that. There's a. It was. I mean, it's been upgraded. Who knows whether it was upgraded or not? But Geist was a drum machine very similar to Battery.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it did the thing that you're describing, Christoph, but it's another one that's fairly interesting.
Yeah. Well, so Battery wasn't actually developed by Native Instruments. It was bought by another company. And that other company kept putting out theirs for years. I want to say it was FX Expansion, but I can't remember. But there was another one, and there was a lot of feature overlap because it was actually their
that's
product.
Geist.
But that's Geist. Geist. All right. So I don't know if they still put it
They
out.
make one now called Geist 2, which is they call it a beat production system.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of great stuff in Complete. I would really hate to see it go away. So Reactor is it's absolutely incredible. And the FM8 is, to me, the best FM synth ever made.
The problem, I mean, the trick here is that a lot of times companies will realize that they've got that, and they decide that they're going to make as much money as possible on it. They're like, oh, everyone loves FM8, everyone loves this stuff, so we're going to make sure that we're going to milk it for all it's worth and make it a subscription only. So if you want this, you're going to fucking pay up.
Yeah, or you're going to abandon it, and that's exactly what I would do. I would abandon it.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. If you are a Native Instruments person, then you can, or you're interested in becoming a Native Instruments person, and diving into that walled garden a little bit, then this sale is for you.
Yeah.
The prices are starting at about $100 and going up depending on what version of Complete that you are running or want to run.
Also not listed is that if you already own Complete, upgrades are also half price right now, or they're lower. At least they were for the standard version of Complete. So similar to the sale that they'll have in around Christmas or Black Friday.
So yeah, there you go. And speaking of old men shipping synthesizers, the Oberheim OBX8 units that you pre-ordered are finally officially shipping. So if you have pre-ordered the OBX8 from Tom and Company, it is on its way out to you now if it is not already in your hot little hands. Polyphonic bitimbral analog synthesizer came out at Super Booth, and it sounds delicious if you are an Oberheim person. Of course, you know, Tom Oberheim's pretty much the last of this legacy of synth pioneers who's still alive. The early generation folks. One of the last, I think. I might put Rosem in there as well if we want to get technical. But yeah, this thing is a very sexy synth, and it is a wonderful piece of gear, and it is not cheap.
Nope.
So
it's less than DX1 though.
True, but it's $5,000.
About, yeah.
So Justin, which synth are you moving out of the way for this one?
Well, when we talked about it before, here's the thing. Everyone has regrets. One of my regrets is not buying the Mini Moog reboot that they did, because I think it listed for around $3,000.
Yep.
And now you can only buy one for like 7 or 8. Like they're in the same price point as the OG ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, so I do regret that. Kind of why I bought the Prophet 5 Rev 4 was because I'm like, I'm not going to let this escape, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would say that the Oberheim, I've listened to it a lot, and I'll make the same statement I made before, which is that I like my OB6 so much I don't think I'm gonna pick this up. It sounds great, but it's just maybe a little too boutique for me, you know. Definitely too pricey. I'm sorry, but
So if you've got the Oberheim X8 heading your way, feel free to invite Tangents to your home.
That's right. Or
yeah,
let us know and we'll invite you to our home. You wanted to drive a couple different places.
yeah, I know a bunch of people. It said in the article like Resner picked one up already.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of people.
And Trent, I know you're listening.
Michael
so,
Stein.
you know.
Yeah, Michael Stein
From Survive?
From Survive, yeah, and the Stranger Things soundtrack. I think he worked on. Yeah, because it's like Kyle Dixon and Michael Stein are like those are the two people that came out of Survive to do this Stranger Things.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've got some nice kit though. So honestly,
Definitely.
no, it sounds great. It's just like I'm not sure. I think this is for I don't know. This is for someone that's just like need to burn basically, or is like a be a Oberheim fanboy, you know, fan person. I just can't. I don't know. Can't do it.
Yeah, I can't justify it myself, and I though it sounds fantastic, I need another analog polysynth like I need a hole in my head right now. So,
Yeah, same.
but yeah, it's cool that they're putting it out. It's cool that Sequential's helping them out with this whole thing. So, I mean, bang on.
Yeah, no, good for Tom. He seems like the kind of person that's real, like heavy duty engineer, right? I don't think he really grokks marketing or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a world that he feels very comfortable in.
Yeah, it's pretty cool though. Yep. So yeah, that's out there. Pre-order shipping, so that means that they'll be available for open regular orders whenever the chips come in.
Wherever the chips may fall.
You've been waiting to say that one.
See what I did there? I get the dad joke.
You've been waiting to say that, haven't you?
It just came to me literally, I swear to God.
Sure.
Wait, let me find my note here. Thanks, Chris.
Cheers, Christoph. It's Robitussin, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm rocking the seltzer tonight.
Grrr, Daddy.
Hardcore.
So here's a speaking of executives that really shouldn't talk. Fender's CEO, Fender recently bought Presonus, had some words to say about the future of Studio One. And he said, the simplest version of Studio One right now has a 150-page manual, which is 149 pages too many. And is suggesting that they want to make a version of Studio One that is globally accessible and easy and very intuitive to use, quote. Now, I'm not exactly saying that that's what they're going to do to Studio One, or if they're going to branch it and make an easy to use, like a GarageBand kind of versus Logic thing. But I hope not.
Yeah, this article really pissed me off.
Same.
Yeah.
I mean, look.
Does anybody have Final Cut 10 flashbacks?
Right?
I'm just thinking, Studio One by definition, in its own, in its fucking name, right? It's like, this is a studio DAW. Okay, this is a professional DAW, you know. And a lot of people have moved from Pro Tools to this thing. I mean, they've skipped over Logic, they've skipped over Cubase. This is a stupid move. Like, if you want to branch it and make something with a fucking easy button, by all means, I don't care, you know. Make as many versions for people who, either don't care. I mean, look, honestly, I would just steer people over to Audacity's website if that's all they fucking want.
Right.
But honestly, like, whatever. It's just really, you're right. It's a dumb thing to say, and it makes me worry when someone that, no offense to Fender, is being dumb and talking about things they don't understand and potentially ruining a really good product. Makes me unhappy.
Gibson.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yet another guitar company effing with people's shit.
Goodbye, Al.
I've got a number of friends that are in the sort of like the pro audio space doing things, and I know people who have done exactly what you said, who've moved from Pro Tools to Studio One. And the other move that I've seen people make was kind of counterintuitive to me. Makes sense in retrospect, especially for people who have a bunch of plugins already, but people move to Reaper for professional use.
Sure.
Because it's like working with audio, it's highly flexible. If you've already got, a bunch of like FabFilter and Isotope and whatever, a bunch of like high-end sound toys, whatever plugins ready to go, then like Reaper's your jam. And
I'll tell you what, Reaper has the lowest audio latency that I could get on my audio interface.
yeah. And this is how, I mean, like, I don't think the guys at Reaper are very, they don't seem very money grubbing or very conniving like Mr. Burns or
Excellent, Jeffrey.
But I mean, if ever they were to do that, it was when they read this article.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, so like Jeff, Justin, and I we're all Studio One users, and that's why we're all like kind of like, this is bullshit instantly.
Well, the thing is that saying his actual premise is incorrect.
Yeah.
You can get this thing up and running without knowing how anything
Correct.
freaking works. Pretty god darn easy.
I think I've read 3 pages of the fucking manual.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I had to learn automation, but there's they themselves, Personas, does so much video documentation, you barely even have to pop the manual. Like, and so to me, it's like just stupid. Like, you can use this very simply. If you just want to record your guitars and sing and do whatever general stuff, then it ain't hard. You want to do complex automations or do all kinds of fancy, busing and stuff, then chances are you already know what you're doing, and it's just figuring out how to do it in that UI, So I think it's stupid.
Yeah. It's kind of the equivalent of Elon Musk buying a Nikon and then complaining, there's too many buttons on this camera. All you need is one button.
Yeah, right?
Like,
Too many notes.
Things.
And there's a certain joy in, at least for me, because I'm a masochist. There's a certain joy of figuring this stuff out and learning it and understanding it and gaining expertise in it. And I think that that's kind of a thing. And to think that that we just need nothing but a consumer version of everything and that's it is kind of insulting to prosumers, I guess. I'm not saying I'm professional, but folks in the sphere that I am, which is just like I'm a big self-educator, and this is one of the things that I love to do. And if you're going to give me something that is, basically, like you said, like Audacity, where it's just like, here's a button, you can push the button, good monkey, then it's just like, no, this isn't cool at all. And I have, I've invested in Studio One. I've invested in things like the fader port and the Atom and the Atom SQ and stuff like that as part of my workflow here, as well as like even the Quantum and stuff like that. So I got a lot of this shit, that for Studio One, and it's just kind of like, well, I will get rid of it in a heartbeat and just go back to Logic.
I'm not trying to be elitist. If they want to make an entry level one, they already have tiers, right? But if you want to make a really like you said, GarageBand version of it, that's with it.
Absolutely.
I just don't want them to hobble. I don't want them to hobble the flagship version of it because
Well, the problem with them releasing a GarageBand one is there's already GarageBand.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's free.
And
So
yeah,
you have to be first or you have to be the best.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's hard to compete with a free product.
Yeah.
So
The thing about Presonus is they've also got this Presonus Sphere system, they call it, which is their cloud thing. This just feels like how do you get people into the cloud? You make the ones you can buy for free, or buy for little money and have the garbagey one, and then you want the good one, you got to do the cloud.
Right.
Will not cloud. Sorry, bro.
And I have Sphere, and I like, I like that they give you all this crazy shit with it and everything like that, and I use that stuff, and it's great. But that's the thing, is like I threw money at this thing because I like it, and I throw money at it continuously because I like what I'm getting out of it. I don't need to do that though. And I can go back to Logic, which cost me $200. Or because I'm an Apple consultant, I got it for free, and just use that and be just as happy with it, and I'm fine with using Logic. I like I like a lot of the integrations in Studio One a bit better. I like that you have that mastering features built into it and all that stuff. But I'll go back to Logic,
Yep.
Yeah, they could really kill the whole product line.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ford won't do it, but if they replace it, or if they do what happened with, as I mentioned before, Final Cut 10, where it was used by professionals and prosumers, but professionals, and they dumbed it down because video editing is hard. And they dumbed it down, but then the professionals couldn't use it for their professional work, and they needed to get their work done immediately. They couldn't wait for a bug fix. So there was a massive exodus over to Adobe Premiere. And once they switch over to Premiere and they buy those licenses, they're not going back to Final Cut after you fix your problems. So this guy could really just trash the whole thing. He could even get people moving now just because of his bad words. Like, even if none of this comes true, people might get spooked. Like, you know what? I was going to buy this. Screw it, I'm buying Fruity
or I'm going to Logic.
Or
Fuck you,
Or Fruity Loops.
Yeah. I do think that's all very, very realistic. And I wouldn't go back to Logic personally, because I found that Logic is very good, and I used Logic for a really long time. And I think the very first time I used Logic was in 1998 or something like that, when it was still eMagic. And it's been very good, but the thing that I didn't like about the current trajectory of Logic is they keep putting more stuff in it, and it keeps getting more and more content. And the way that they've done some of the content in it is that it loads a lot of it, and it's just slow.
Yeah.
It's just slow and I don't know, slow and fast.
Yeah, it's getting bloated, definitely, for sure. I'll just go back to using Reason too. I can, I'm perfectly fine with being in that world. I can do everything in Reason as well.
Yeah. I do have this mixing board right here, which I do really like, but I sure still do like my Porta Studios. And try to put one of those in the cloud.
Right?
Penderman.
Yeah. Well, they'll just put the license for you to use it on the cloud instead.
Dope.
Every cassette you put in there, it'll just erase it. Nope, we forgot to pay our license.
That'd be amazing. That would be Timothy Tascam himself.
Yes, Timothy Tascam.
To install a Wi-Fi router in my 424.
He sends his army of dwarves and gnomes to your house.
All of your per audio gear could be IoT, Jeff. I think that would make you happy.
Yes.
Internet of shit.
Yeah, that's the thing is Tascam's going to send you those tapes, right? That you buy for $30 a piece because they have the hologram, but they also have a little IoT thing that gets shoved into as soon as you hit the record button, it shoves it deep into your 4-track, and you can't get it out, and then it just starts phoning home, and then you have to get a license for it.
It's all spyware nanobots.
That's right.
No.
I've seen the future.
Spyware nanobots.
I've seen the future, and it's cassette spyware. Phone home cassettes. But yeah, we'll see what happens, but this puts me a little bit on edge as far as continuing my Sphere, subscription and stuff like that even. It's shit, I might as well just buy the copy that that's currently running right now and just lock that out. and then just use that from now on.
That's what I've got. I have the not sphere
Yeah.
version, and it does make me really glad. Like I thought about buying one of the what do they call them? The big PreSonus mixers like Q32. The reason I ultimately didn't get it is because it didn't have 32 line ends. It had 16 lines, 16 XLRs, and I was like, that's dumb. Who wants that? But so that's why I didn't get it, but I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah. So yeah, fuck you, Fender, if you do this.
In advance.
Yes, just in case.
Yeah, don't be Gibson. You already make better guitars, man.
Oh, Gibson. Sorry. I don't know.
No, it's Fender doing it, but I'm saying Gibson has a history of doing this
Oh,
kind
okay.
of
Well,
thing.
fuck them both then.
Yeah.
So don't be Gibson. Be better than Gibson.
There you
Fender.
go.
Yeah.
Don't do this.
It's kind of like the IBM of buy it and squash it, you know?
Yeah.
Microsoft model.
Cedar
too.
Point model.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of building your own synthesizers,
Speaking of it,
Synthux Academy, which is Synthux Academy Simple is the name of the platform. It's a DIY platform for synthesizer design for musicians who want to learn how to code and make their own instruments and live in a hell of their own creation.
perfect.
So
if you are Sid Heresy, boy, do we have a product for you. So this is a prototyping board. It's a do-it-yourself kit, and it's not analog, but it's basically you create control surfaces, whatever knobs, buttons, whatever, and you place them where you want on this prototyping board, and it all controls probably a Daisy Seed microcontroller. The Daisy Seed microcontroller it's Arduino-like, but it's much faster than the old Arduinos, which only ran at 3 kilohertz, which is not fast enough to do anything but bass on the audio level. So, but the Daisy Seed is much faster and has full DSP. It can run C++, Max DSP, Pure Data, which is like the free version of Max DSP. Not really related. It's like the open source competitor. So you would have to learn some programming. So this is really an engineer's toy.
Yeah.
But if you've always had an idea for a synth that nobody has made, this would be a great way to make it. The kit, I think it's about $140 if you want to get a bunch of knobs and stuff for it. But the board itself, I think, is $39. It's less. But anyway, it's an exciting development, especially during a slow news week.
right.
So it's it can be powered by USB. It can fit into Eurorack, but it's wide, and you'd have to set up Eurorack power for it. So it's not really for Eurorack. It's really more for desktop. But still, if you ever thought, okay, I'd like to make something like this, or wouldn't it be great if I had the ability to just I want a lot of knobs, like you wanted to build like a DX7 controller, or you wanted to make an FM synth, and you wanted to have a ton of knobs, and nobody else is making it. Now you can make it. Or and there's one of those weird things about synths is that every synth has some weird thing that a lot of other synths don't do, and so now you can put several of those things into that synth that you have an idea of. Like for example, I have a synth on my phone, which I talk about a lot, and I don't want to make everybody's eyes roll. But
It rhymes with
this type
Lostic.
of oscillator. Yeah, but it has an oscillator type where it's just doing math on this oscillator. It's out of it, and so the sounds that come out of just this oscillator, where it's based on a formula that goes around 256, it makes really weird things, and that's not available in a hardware synth. But you could make that, and then you could program a dual filter after that, and it'll be the only one in the world that does that. So anyway, it's an amazing amount of power, and in the hardware realm. So Synthix.
Yeah, this
But
thing
not
is,
for the faint of heart.
Yes.
it looks delightfully fun, and I think that's great.
Yeah.
I caution of people who've done microcontroller programming and or messed around with Pies or Arduino. C++ in DSP programming is not for the faint of heart.
Right.
So
That's why I suspect that the Pure Data and MaxMSP integration will be really critical.
yeah,
Because I think Pure Data is probably a lot easier to learn than just doing straight C++.
right.
But I suspect because of its platform, you probably need to know a little bit of C++ or be at least familiar with compilers. So this, again, is not for everybody. But maybe it comes with great instructions. I didn't dive that deep into it, but I did add a story in a slow news week.
Yeah. I mean, normally the risk with languages like C++ are, because it's not, there's no memory management. I mean, how should I put that? There's no boundaries, right? So
There's no garbage collection.
yeah, there's no garbage collection. You have to create anything. You have to have a delete for everything. But yeah, beyond that though, I mean, you can F it up, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can have your own personal buffer overflow hell or memory leaks like crazy. So, but I mean, if it's a very simple API and you're just doing this stuff, it should be fun. I mean, this is a hobby kit, right? I mean, you could make professional music with it, but the kit itself, it's like.
It is. So it's an ARM Cortex M7 probably. But yeah, it'll do 96. If it's the processor, I think it is. It'll do 96 kilohertz, 24-bit audio. So it really depends on what the development environment that comes with it is for how much they make this easier for you. And again, it does say that it has support for multiple languages like C++, Arduino, MaxMSP,
Nice.
and Pure Data. So that could make it much easier.
I
I don't know enough about it.
It looks like a solderless board too.
Yeah.
It's like a project board. Right?
Yeah, it's like a breadboard almost looking like.
Yeah, it's like those Radio Shack kit breadboards. They're like the white grids, but it looks like this is cooler looking.
I sent it over to a friend of mine who's an embedded systems engineer because she's fascinated by this kind of thing, and she's like, it's like a damn FPGA fabric, but it's copper.
Nice.
So she's
That's very cool.
very curious about the schematic and how bonkers it must be. So
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. I mean, like, you could do this your own if you're a developer, but this is a really complicated board, and somebody did the work,
Yeah.
so it would be much easier to buy it
oh yeah,
than to try.
especially it's like $150.
And the $150 comes with like knobs and switches and other things too, not just the
Right.
board. So
Looks like it's got a faceplate too. I don't know how that's pretty cool. There's only one picture of it with the faceplate like on the side.
yeah, I don't know if it comes with that or not. I have to take a look. But
Yeah.
again,
Because that would depend
one of
on
the things I learned from the Look Mom No Computer site is that it's not that difficult to make your own plates. Because he does it a lot. So, but it's going to cost because metal costs money. But still, I mean, this is just, if you wanted to make something, this is going to save you a ton of time and give you a lot of flexibility. It would give you basically a development environment where you could make a bunch
Right.
of things.
Oh yeah.
All right, they're
Looks like
coming
fun.
for one of you. I don't know.
It's me on mute.
Okay. No, I'm just kidding.
We'll just watch as he silently gets taken away. Bye.
It's like the scene from the IT Crowd, right?
Right.
There's somebody downstairs. They've come about the audit.
Right.
Right.
Let them in. There is a new biography about Bob Moog that is on its way out. It's now available for pre-order. It's called Switched On. This is written by the same guy who wrote the biography about Leon Theremin. And yeah, my cat's yelling at me over there for some reason. Fuck off. All right. He's really loud.
It's really going for
He
it.
really
huh?
That
is.
is good.
Jax, what is wrong with you?
Well, dude.
Come here, asshole.
He's about to. He's gonna.
He's
come-
never been fed ever.
I know. No, I don't know what he's up. Come here.
He just wants attention. Give him some love.
Yeah, give me some love. All right. So yeah,
Well,
switched
talking about
on
the Bob Moog book.
Bob Moog and the Synthesizer Revolution. So this is coming out. The Bob Moog Foundation is putting it out. So that should be decently interesting if you were into reading synthesis biographies. Probably better than the Wendy Carlos biography, which came out, which was like, according to Wendy Carlos, was riddled with errors and was completely unauthorized, and she was really pissed that it came out.
So this is a book.
Yeah,
question, what's it-
physical media with paper.
It sounds familiar.
Yes.
I think that was in that Fahrenheit 451 movie.
Yeah, they burned a lot of them. And actually, there's a group of people in the United States who probably would like to burn a bunch of them to this day.
Yeah. So if you buy this, don't smuggle it into Alabama.
Yes, they might burn it because it's a book.
Order.
Got them letters in it.
Literacies for pussies.
Uh-oh. Just lost all our Alabama viewers. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
wait, let me take a look.
To rag on them specifically, but I did read an article recently that said that if Alabama wasn't attached to the United States, that the developed world would consider it basically a developing country. Like, I mean, the statistics are pretty bad.
Yeah.
Sorry, Alabama.
Yeah, I've been there. I believe it.
But yeah, so this book is going to be will be shipping out on August 19th, 2022. It'll be released to the general public on September 2nd. I'll probably be picking it up because I love biographies about people, and I'm going to read it because I like to read physical media.
Well, please let us know what you think.
I will do so. I'm currently reading a book about 20th century classical music composers.
Ooh.
Yeah. It gets pretty crazy and weird.
That's French horns.
Was it Schoenberg was one of those cats?
Mhm.
Elliot, somebody was Elliot Carter. Or
Yep,
something?
Elliot Carter.
Yeah, I had a friend in high school who was into that stuff, and gosh, that can put you in a mindset after a while.
Oh yeah, when they're like, here's all of our weird tritones and our it's got the whole cast of characters is in there. It's great. They even name dropped Neubauten in there at least once. So.
Oh, nice.
Is Steve Reich in there?
Of course.
Gotta have Steve Reich.
So is Stravinsky.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that whole 12-tone composition stuff always blows my mind.
Oh yeah.
Robert Fripp was big into that. That whole idea that if you look at it as 12 chromatic tones, and like if you start with one, you have to play all of the others before you can come back and play the tonic again. It's like, it seems almost like a math game or a math puzzle.
Right.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, this book is available or for pre-order right now. Pick it up. Pick up the Theremin book as well, because again, that sounds interesting too. If you've not seen the Theremin documentary that came out in I think it was like the very early 90s. This, very interesting character who, had a kind of a fascinating life as a guy who built one of the early electronic musical instruments and went on and became a person who developed spying and surveillance products for the Soviet Union.
Yeah, the first bug was Theremin,
Yep.
right? Including famously a bug that was inside a sculpture in the U.S. Embassy in Russia that didn't require a battery and worked for decades.
Yeah, quite a character. So yeah, it sounds like an interesting read as well. So I'll probably pick up both of them because reading is fundamental.
And of course, against his will, because he was kidnapped by the
Correct.
Soviets.
Yeah, he was. Well, he went back, and then they just kind of kidnapped him once he came back to Russia. But yeah, there's an excellent documentary about him. I think it's just called Theremin, and shows.
Clever
What's that?
It's a clever name for the documentary.
I know, right? And it's has a lot of Clara Rockmore in it, who is his protege, and also like a theremin virtuoso.
It's cool.
Who's, you know, fascinating. And if you ever get a chance to listen to her playing, she has like some music out there, and you can also watch YouTube videos of her playing. It's just absolutely fantastic watching her do that.
It really is amazing what she was able to do with the theremin.
The documentary is called Theremin: An Electronic Odyssey. So yeah, cool stuff.
Maybe
Right.
Fire should do a theremin sample library.
Yeah, is that reward in our chat?
Sorry, I'm so into Beaker that
I know, right?
didn't even care what.
Yeah, he always sits on top of my theremins. I have 2 theremins here, so we can do a sample library anytime you want.
That was good.
Thank you.
That was at least as good as the theremin solo in "Song Remains the Same." So we're coming back to Led Zeppelin because we started there. Right? So.
Go.
They're vintage, like the Synthesizer Museum.
Hey, and speaking of the Vintage Synthesizer Museum, here's the next 3 pieces of news comes from our friends at Spitfire Audio. First piece is that they released a video just now of the newly launched Vintage Synthesizer Museum. So the Vintage Synthesizer Museum that was up in Oakland, California, has relocated to Los Angeles because they are gluttons for punishment. And Spitfire took a tour and hung out there. So yeah, Christoph, have you been to the new museum yet?
I have not been to the new museum. So I knew that this would come to me because there's probably 5 things that I mention in every Tangents. And at some point I bring up this Vintage Synthesizer Museum being the happiest place on earth for people like me. They moved from Oakland to LA because the recording industry is in LA, and they knew they could get more bookings and clients in LA. So they left Oakland, moved here. It's a bigger space, and they've done this tour. And if you want to play a Jupiter 8 or an Oberheim 4-voice or a Yamaha CS80 and you got like $60, this is the place. I mean, just all these synths that you've read about for years and years, but you've never seen. Not only do you get to see it, you get to touch it, they record it, and they give it to you on a flash drive. They just give you the files and you walk out. There's so much stuff there. So, but if you're wondering, like, well, what do they have? And the website's not doing it for you. Now Spitfire has a video where they kind of go through and do a tour. They also do community events, like on Sundays they do like Synth Wash Sunday, where everybody's invited to sit on the floor while they have like these modulating pads from all these different synths just kind of wash over each other. It's kind of like your Krell Holiday Fest stream. So yeah, they do that. And they've said if you want to visit, but you don't want to make a reservation, if you buy a Vintage Synthesizer Museum t-shirt, you're allowed to come in and look at things, but yeah, you can't play them or record. But it's really affordable. It's absolutely worth it. And now somebody has, the last time I went there, I recorded some videos that I meant to cut together and post online, and I've never gotten around to it. So I'm glad that Spitfire Audio did it for me, because they're professionals.
Oh yeah, they're good at what they do.
Yeah, but I can't say enough good things about the Vintage Synthesizer Museum. And there's something like this in Europe, where they have where there's a much bigger museum, but at that much bigger museum you can look at a lot of them, but a lot of them aren't hooked up. And then they have a synthesizer room where some of them are hooked up. And what they have hooked up, ready to play right now at the Vintage Synthesizer Museum here is much more extensive. It's an incredible range of things. This is one of the best things about being in North America right now.
One of the few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. It'd be
It's like this and frozen hot chocolate.
an emotional support mug cake.
Yes.
Emotional support cake all day, every day.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this would be a fun thing to go and visit, especially if you have kind of like an idea about what you want to do already. Like if you know, have a sequence already laid out and everything like that, and you can just go in
Absolutely.
and go to town.
It could be very useful for that. Or like, for example, you say you got to go to the CS80 and you got to play the Blade Runner sound. I recommend learning how to program that sound on an emulator before you get there, because it's not an easy synth to use. So it'll take you a little bit of time, but then you could go out and you could do that. You could do this is probably the synthesizer equivalent of Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah.
Go out there, play it, be happy, but you're going to hear it. It's going to be great. Not only that, they also offer lots of vintage effects like the Space Echo 201 and others. So, but yeah, great for that. Or if I haven't done that, I haven't gone in with a sequence in mind or something I wanted to record of me playing. It's just fun to twist the knobs, hear the filters, and experience these synths. Because it's the only time I played a real Prophet 5, and it's the only time I played a Jupiter 8. And I didn't realize how great they were until I played.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, on paper, they're like, all right, and the Prophet 5 is limited. But then when you play it, all right, the feel is amazing, but not only that, the sound. Like, it's hard to make a bad sound because everything is so perfectly, like, the ranges on everything are so tuned that it's really hard to screw it up.
I agree.
It's like the exact opposite of FM programming, where it's like, terrible, 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 good, terrible, 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 terrible. So
It's funny. I've heard people describe the early both the Curtis filter and the oscillators that they were using there is and I quote spooky, and I think it's spooky because it especially if you turn the release way up, reverb. I don't know how to explain it. Like it's got a really unique cool sound.
If your oscillators are detuned, it sounds like it's with the right detune, things sound spacious.
Whatever it is, my Rev 4 has it, and so does my Prophet 600. And I, not to knock on the new sequential, but I think the Prophet 600 has it more because it's a vintage, and I'm not just being a snob about that, but the fact that I've got a reliability on the Rev 4 makes me happy.
Yeah, well, I think in the later sequentials, the tuning is more locked in than it is on those originals, and sometimes there's an advantage of that. Also, we have to keep in mind that part of why it sounds spooky to us is because the John Carpenter films were done, and the Prophet 5 is very heavy on those.
True.
So Alan Haworth, who was the synth guy working with John Carpenter, he actually was an early adopter of the Prophet 5. He sent it back to get work done, and they said, "Hey, we like these. Can we use these presets?" So he's actually responsible for a lot of the later Prophet 5 presets. So a lot of other people that were using Prophet 5s, like Skinny Puppy, they have a little bit of that John Carpenter sound, and I think this is exactly why. And as a result, it sounds a little bit spooky. So
Cool.
yeah, that is the kind of trivia I have in my brain instead of talking. But yeah, so there's so many great things you can do at the Vintage Sound Museum, and if I had access to a car, I'm sure I would have been up there already. And with no project in mind, just to play, because it's just a happy place.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy who runs it, his name is Lance. He's very cool and
Nice.
chill. It is a very relaxed environment.
That sounds lovely. I'm on my way out there.
It is.
Justin, you want me to pick you up on the way? All right.
Let's do it.
All right, Jeff, meet me here.
And then after that, you guys can go to Perfect Circuit and set your affiliate links up.
Yep.
Yeah.
We should probably do that, shouldn't we? Should we become Perfect Circuit affiliates?
Yes.
Yes, because people are always buying stuff from
It's
our
true.
show.
Based upon our excellent scathing reviews about things. I wonder how many people have bought
Yes.
equipment just because we've said we've hated it. Okay, just because I've said I've hated it.
Well, people learn
Roll
to.
that Roland 303 clone that
Yeah,
you
the
hate,
TD3.
the black and
Yep.
green one. What's it
The
called?
TB3.
Yeah.
The TD3, sorry, TB, the tuberculosis 3. That's what I call it from now on.
3 is 1.
3 whooping coughs now mixed into one.
Is that the TB3 area?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be a pretty epic choir. 3 whooping.
I know,
coughs.
right? Can you imagine?
Wow, was that an intentional segue, Jeff? Because that was brilliant.
And speaking of epic tuberculosis whooping cough choirs, continuing our Spitfire Audio, who the only people that are doing anything worth a damn, the past 2 weeks, they have released the Originals Epic Choir, featuring the sound of a 50-voice vocal ensemble. So Spitfire makes very, very nice orchestral sample packs and stuff like that, and very well recorded things and stuff. And this is one of those as well, obviously. And this has got an incredibly good price tag, considering that some of their stuff goes for hundreds of thousands of dollars, really. This puppy here is going for like 29 great British pounds.
$29.
Yeah, $29.
Too.
I mean, that's fucking cheap. There's no reason why, unless you hate choir voices, there's no reason not to get this, just to have it in your pocket. I myself am a huge fan of using choir voices and stuff like that in music, especially if you can make it so they don't exactly sound human anymore, even more so.
This thing sounds bloody great.
Yeah.
It really does. I was shocked when I saw the price tag because I watched all the demos first.
Yeah, I remember when a good gospel library, a good choir library would cost you hundreds.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I said gospel because this is great for my primary music making, which is gospel music.
I remember that you're big into doing that kind of thing.
Lifting all glory to the Lord.
Yes, absolutely. It's interesting because this reminds me, a few years back at the Cleveland Museum of Art, they had a piece of audio art in one of their galleries, and this is like the gallery kind of looks like a Roman garden, and it was literally 50 speakers that you just stood in the middle of, and each speaker had its own voice singing to you. And but it wasn't chaos at all. It was like a 50-voice choir. And you just stood in the middle of this, and it sang to you, and like the voices would they would pop from one speaker to another and stuff like that. And it was just like, I would sit, like they would have it would go like twice an hour, the performances, quote unquote. And I sat there and just I sat there once for 4 hours and just listened to it as much as possible, because it was just.
I absolutely understand.
Yeah.
I've had two experiences like that. One was at MoMA has a second campus called PS1, and they had something similar set up. And the experience of that, it's we can explain it, but it's really hard to explain just how good that is until you're there. And then it's like, and you realize this is very likely never going to happen for you the rest of your life. And this is a singular moment that you are experiencing.
Exactly.
This. It's really quite something.
Exactly.
And then there's another artist who does like these museum installations that I met, and he did this room, and I think it must have had like 60 speakers and it surrounded you on multiple levels, and he did all this 3D, programming so that the way the audio moved around you, and again, I can't properly explain what this experience is like. You have to experience it. When you do, it's like, oh my God, this is a special time.
And it's one of those experiences that you just go and do it. Don't fucking sit there and think if you're going to like it or not. That doesn't, that's unimportant in my mind. It's just go do it because it is something that you're not going to experience very often. It's like going to see Suzanne Ciani doing the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari in a 24-point surround system. Just fucking
Which was so
go.
Cool. That was so cool. Yeah, my next closest thing to that was watching the Plasmatics drive a bus through a wall of TVs. So that's all I got.
Wow, you just won the internet.
Right? Yeah. That's pretty fucking incredible. So yeah, this is a great, like I said, it is in fact an epic choir, 50 voices. I mean, you're getting 50 voices for $30. That's a deal.
Yeah.
Do the math.
Great.
So how like Russian choirs sound different than Western choirs? And I imagine that's just in the composition. And that makes me wish I understood music theories to the point where I could do that kind of stuff. Because I love that, like, that Russian choir sound.
You know, it's
Because it's epic.
really weird in the Bulgarian choirs. And they were popular like in these in that sort of like pure mood sort of time period. You know?
On the Gregorian chanting.
Well, yeah. Well, like the Bulgarian stuff's weird because they use quarter tones. So the harmonies are just weird, right?
Yeah, it's that Eastern scaling and stuff like that, and the quarter toning.
Yeah. So that's exactly what I mean about music theory. And, how I should try to learn that stuff.
Well, what you do is you just get a chord bot,
Yeah.
and then that way you don't have to worry about your music theory. It'll just do it for you.
Just keep hitting random on chord rhythm boxes.
Yeah, the eyes like chord bot will steer you just fine, and you can program once you figure it out. You can put it in there, and then you can make it a preset, so you can have your Russian choir preset, and it will just do it.
And I'll be honest, I'm jealous of the chord bot. It looks like a fantastic product, and I wish I had one.
It's a fantastic product that's built like garbage.
Well, when they sponsor the show, they should give us one.
I agree.
And when I say us, I mean
I was going to say, half of us have one.
Yep.
I really wish.
I mean, that's one company I haven't trashed yet.
I think I just kind of like did when I said it's the best garbage. It's a fantastic
you
instrument.
did, but I did.
Yeah,
So,
built like
they
garbage.
should give me one, and then I'll whenever Andrew trashes you, I'll have your back. I'll say nice things, like the cool thing they gave me.
Old style instruments till the very last. There are very few things that I have music gear wise that I definitely would not sell. The S2400 and the chord bot are two of those things. I would still like an SP1200. I mean, like the new Rossum ones are super nice, but they aren't $4,000.
Yeah.
There's a couple videos A/B testing them, Jeff, and I think we're all right. I think we're
No. The S2400 sounds exactly the same.
Sure.
I like the buttons on the
well, well, you're gonna have to build a case around it, Jeff, with the buttons.
If somebody made an aftermarket set of buttons that were like big plastic buttons, or even better, if they made a fitment that was like a square fitment that let me put arcade buttons.
Oh, there
in
you
it,
go.
Like I could have Sanwa arcade buttons.
I was just gonna say Sanwa, like in your
God, I would be very, very pleased if I could have Sanwa buttons on there.
So there's something called the MIDI Fighter made by a DJ.
Yeah.
DJ Tech Tools.
It has those arcade buttons.
Yes, it does. They use lower quality, or they did use lower quality ones. They did not use the Sanwa submit.
But you could swap those buttons out pretty easily, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Depending on how they're installed, yeah. But
you just want like my Speedlink Pro here.
I mean, I've got a whole bunch of fight sticks around this house. But yeah, so that's what I would really like. I don't want velocity sensitivity on the buttons. There's only one velocity that counts, and it's 127. Everything else.
Yeah. You're goddamn right.
Anything that is fucking commit, people. 127.
All or
The
nothing.
industrial way.
You set it up
Every drop must be
127.
an explosion.
Yes, and if anything else is unacceptable, and put me arcade buttons on. If I could have arcade buttons on the S2400, it would be perfect.
Music creation should be a binary experience, on or off. That's all.
You know what's funny? I actually turned the
Velocity
aftertouch
for
off.
jazz.
I turned the aftertouch off on my Rev 4 because after a while I'm like, meh, you know.
I've turned off velocity on a lot of my synthesizers because I don't want it. I want hammer.
But think about it, the Jupiter 8, the Prophet 5, you know, the Lindrum.
Yeah.
No velocity.
What kind of weenie drummer doesn't hit the drum as hard as is possible?
Right?
If you
That's
haven't broken
ridiculous.
3 sticks by the end of your set, Are you even human?
Yeah. You having a nap? It's ridiculous.
Do you even drum, bro?
So
Yeah.
when I was in Filament 38, Adam Boost was the drummer, and we got these. He was playing these really old Roland drum pads from the 80s that were just basically a piece of rubber over a piece of wood with a
I have so
with a
many of those.
piezo
Was it the
sensor
triangle?
glued to the back of it.
Yeah, was the triangle ones?
The,
or
the
round
triangle ones.
And he got
Yeah, I have 4 of those.
And
The PD
Yep.
ones and the PD.
yeah, it's a PD11s is what he was using, and like he would stand up to play, so like he didn't use like a kick, like a foot
a man.
kick or anything like that. So we had 3 of them. So he had like one that was the kick, one that was a snare, and one that was whatever other sounds he wanted to use for that song.
That's the way I do
And
it.
we would buy a dozen drumsticks at a time, because by the time the show was over, he went through all 12 of them, and his hands were
Same.
just like bleeding all over the place and stuff. So we had
Yeah,
to get him.
that's a man with carpal tunnel syndrome.
We had to get him batting gloves, and then I got him aluminum drumsticks, and he only went through 6 of those before bending the shit out of them, because he played so fucking hard, and he's a really good fucking drummer too.
Yeah.
So he was just like going to town
Yeah,
on this
sure.
thing, and it was just like, it was, it was always a bloody mess. But anyway,
You can hit those drum pads hard enough to break them, by the way.
you can.
I've got one that was
He's
cracked
broken.
wood.
We've had to replace the piezo sensors a number of times.
No, I didn't break the sensors. I broke the wood, but I used wood glue to put it back together, and that
Yeah.
worked.
Oh yeah, yeah. We had to repair these things on the regular. They were garbage. It was great. It was fun.
They are terrible. They are really bad for you.
They looked good.
You don't have, yeah, but if you don't have carpal tunnel syndrome now, you will have it after you play these things.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, eventually he switched over to the V drums, and that was much easier for him.
That is much better for you. I don't have those. Of course, I went out and I got the TD7, which is round, but still rubber over wood.
Right.
Still terrible for you.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I just never had the money for the mesh drums.
Yeah. Yeah, those are fine things. But yeah, anyway. So, and speaking of orchestras,
Yep.
Spitfire Audio.
Spitfire Audio, in our last piece of news tonight, is released the or BBC Symphony Orchestra Discover plugin for free for everyone. When they first came out with this, they did offer it for free for a limited time, and then they stopped. So that's why I got confused when they re-released it and said it's free. I'm like, wait a second here.
Previously, you had to fill out a survey to get it.
Right.
Now you don't.
No, you
can just
don't.
have it.
It's just free, and it's great. I use this thing a lot. I use this all over the Hermit project. Whenever I needed any kind of orchestral sound, that I would bust this thing out, and it just sounds so nice, and it's fucking free, y'all.
Yeah, it's very high professional quality. I first found out about this because I was talking about my lack of music theory knowledge, but I'll be honest, I try. And so I was watching videos from a British guy who teaches music theory. There's a few good, really great videos on music theory. And one was this British guy, and I think he must have some kind of relation to this product because he promoted it on his channel and talked about how great it was. And it is. It's amazing, and it's free. And I think Spitfire Audio, I think this is like a stripped down version of a more robust version for really professional work. But even
It's
stripped down, it's amazing.
Fine.
So it sounds dead real. The stereo placement of the room, it's quite realistic. And, what's it going to cost you?
Yeah.
A little hard drive space?
Yeah, these cats go in with these ridiculously high quality microphones, and they mic placement the shit out of this so nicely. And so you always, whenever you see something from Spitfire and it's free, just fucking get it, and whether or not you use it or not.
They
And
really know what they're doing.
And the installer for this will give you access to like a bunch of other free stuff as well. Like they have a thing that's like pianos in a swimming pool room in LA sounds and that kind of thing, and you can just grab it and use it because it sounds cool. They do such a great job with their sample sets and everything. Just get it. There's no reason not to.
Do you know how large the sample is? I mean, that looks like these companies will sell you hard drive versions of it. I wonder how large the
This is not that big. I think it's like 6 gigs or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so they essentially this is a part of a bigger set, Justin. So they have this. They
Actually, 200 megabytes.
Oh shit.
yeah,
Yeah.
this
Okay.
one's
No shit.
so they have a mega set that is gigundous that I think does come in on a hard drive.
Yeah.
But the BBC free version of it, that's how they did it for free. Was the survey originally was I think it was actually a year ago
Mhm.
that they did that, but it was you did the survey. The BBC got some. It was like BBC Radio 4, I think, got some information from you, and then in 2 weeks, if you still wanted it, you got a download link for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, if you purchase this in the last month, they'll give you a gift card making up the $49 you spent on it. And that is a really nice gesture.
Absolutely.
They didn't have to do that.
Yeah. Christian Henderson of Spitfire Audio Labs seems very much to be a very decent human dude.
I love watching his crib tours and stuff like that, his studio tours, and just listening to him talking. He's just like, it's just like, oh, okay, this is nice. It's like,
Yeah. Jeff just sent me one of those.
yeah,
He's
What was the name of the band that you sent me the crib tour of?
Oh, I can't remember which one I just sent you.
Like, is it Dragon Experience or what the hell was it? It's like it's partly a modular rig. Stuff. It's a band you like. Let me see if I can find it.
My favorite crib tours are both Lego
yeah.
belts.
The new one just came out recently.
Yeah, I love it. Lego belts. There's something about his like demeanor that just it's almost again it's like ASMR with synths.
Yeah.
Like,
It always
It
just
was
looks.
Snakes of Russia.
Yeah, that is a really good one, and I will recommend it for anybody who would like to watch that. Snakes of
I will
Russia.
share a link.
You're gonna post it. Okay. It's he's really enjoyable, but yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, the full version of the BBC Symphony Orchestra Professional is $1,000. It is 36 gigs, and you can get it on a hard drive.
Yeah.
Crazy. Guess what?
We did it.
We did it.
Another
We
one.
did it.
We did
We're
it.
on time.
Bam.
We did just the right amount of tangents.
We did, and it's the end of episode 36.
Wow.
Holy crap, everybody! We have.
That's my cross size.
I know, right? That's my. Never mind. Anyway, you have been watching the fantastic show known as Tangents, the only show on the internet. We will be back in 2 weeks with hopefully news of more robustness. And maybe Spitfire Audio will put out some more stuff for us to cover and talk about. Whatever. I'm hoping that we'll be able to do a KnobCon special while KnobCon's happening. Whoever's going to KnobCon, we'll find out.
Yeah, I'll probably have code.
It's got to have a goal, I suppose. Even if it's just what's that?
And it's NobCon.
The 9th through the 11th of September.
I'll be damned. We missed something.
What did we miss?
Who always does something for us?
Audio?
Did Cherry Audio put something out that
Oh,
we didn't get on the
Galactic
news?
Reverb. We forgot Galactic.
I knew nothing about this. Talk. Say something.
Reverb. A whole galaxy full of it.
A whole galaxy of reverbs.
Galactic reverb decays for up to 35 seconds. You can make massive beautiful spaces. I mean,
I've also purchased this one, and it definitely sounds like a 80s studio reverb to me. I like it.
Nice.
Does it sound like the Blade Runner reverb?
No,
What
I
does it
think
sound
maybe
like?
later 80s.
All right.
The interface looks like fun. It's very simple.
yeah.
Looks like a lexicon kind.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Justin, you were complaining about having trouble mixing your album, and I said you should get the Fab Filter plugin. You're like, no, I'm not going to spend the money on the plugins. And you have definitely spent as much money on plugins.
Well, in my defense, I did buy the Fab Filter plugins. So I don't know if that makes me worse or better, Jeff.
For sure.
But yeah.
Well, if you want any help with those Fab Filter plugins, let me know. Because
I bought the mixing and mastering suite.
Good.
Because I just wanted the EQ and the multi-channel compressor, really.
Okay. Yeah. They're all very good. You'll be back.
All right. We'll be back in 2 weeks where we'll tell you more stuff to buy. Maybe we'll get an affiliate link set up by then so you can buy it directly through us, and then we'll make money off of your tiers. Which is
as per usual.
Thanks for everyone for watching tonight. We're going to be raiding over to our good pal, the Graceful Bard.
Yay.
So until see you next month in the beautiful month of August. So take care, everybody, and have fun. We are firing off the raid, and I'm pushing the button to make us disappear. See y'all soon.